Hello, and I would like to welcome everybody listening to a very special episode of the Cask Effect podcast. This is the inaugural Quarter Cask episode. My fellow brother and I realized that our normal podcast postings are a little bit meaty, we'll say, and not everyone has the time to digest all the content we put into those. So instead, we hit the drawing board briefly and decided that it would be better for both us and you, the audience, to create shorter, more palatable episodes, especially for those of you with shorter commutes, smaller glasses, or busier schedules. At the end of this episode, if you think this was an awesome addition to our podcast, then definitely hit the subscribe or follow button. Read through our show notes. Look us up on Instagram so you can stay up to date with us at Brothers in Whiskey. That's whiskey without the E. And send us a message if you want. You can also find probably a few fun links in the show notes. Now, for those of you who are listening who are maybe a bit more familiar with some of the jargon of the whiskey world, then you understand the term quarter cask. But for those of you that don't, here's just a real quick lesson. A quarter cask is a smaller cask, usually but not always a quarter the size of a full butt or barrel, that is used to make a lot of whiskeys more flavorful during the maturation process. And this is due to the higher amount of contact between the spirit and the surface area of the barrel. At one point in time, they were also very much preferred because of the size when it came to transporting whiskey. So, there's your quick lesson on the history of the quarter cask in that turn. So now that you're caught up, let's get right into it. So in this episode, I'm going to be tasting and talking about a couple fantastic new finds for the brothers. Now we've tried a couple other bottlings and offerings from the Big River Distilling Company based out of Memphis, but these seemed more of a cool find to me, especially because of their story and the connection that I have to them being a musician. So, Blue Note Bourbon, that's the name. That's the name of this particular subsection coming from Big River. Now, I was able to grab a bottle of their premium small batch at one of the state stores here in Birmingham. It had to have been a couple months ago, but I wasn't really super familiar with them at the time because I really hadn't seen anything else that they'd shipped out. But about a month and a half later, ended up finding another bottle called their Juke Joint on one of the many whiskey hunts we do towards the Nashville area. I think I might have found it. Yeah, I think I found it in Best Sellers in Columbia, right off of 65. So now I have two of their bottlings. And so I'm going to try a couple, talk about them a little bit, give you a little bit of a background on Big River, not too much. Gotta leave you to do something, right? And then just taste it and explore it and talk about what I've learned briefly. And this is a work in progress, so bear with us, give us some feedback. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts. And so go ahead, and if you've got a bottle handy, especially of the Blue Note, go ahead and pour yourself some. So the first bottle I'm going to try is their Juke Joint. Now, right off the bat, I'm just going to read some of the tasting notes and such they've got on their website for beautiful little nuggets of information, what they're wanting, to give you a little bit of a snapshot into what they were going for. And so let me see. The Juke Joint is minimum aged 3 years. It's made in a Kentucky bourbon style, Kentucky straight bourbon style to be specific. They've got their mash bill on here: 70% corn, 21% rye, and 9% malted barley. And it rings in at a nice and smooth 93 proof and is also unfiltered. So that's awesome. I always like looking, especially at American stuff, with the mash bill, like how they mixed everything up. And I'm sure we'll delve more into that if you guys want to know more about, how classifications work. So, yeah, send us a message. Looks like they've also got some tasting notes on here for us. So let's see what they're trying to put forward, and then see if we can pick up on those. So it looks like on the nose, they're wanting sweet corn, allspice, and oak. I'm going to take a quick sniff of the glass I've got here. Ooh, okay. I can definitely see this sweet corn. There's something sort of caramelized floating around in there, but it's got, a little bit more earthy tones floating around as well. I guess that's probably some of the allspice. I know I probably just need to buy a little bit of allspice so I can have it for reference, so that anytime I see that tasting note or nosing note, I'm like, okay, well, what does that smell like? Oak, obviously not hard to pick out. Just a nice, beautiful woodiness. Oh, and that's sweet. Yeah, okay. The more I push everything else away, the more I get that sweet corn. Sweet, it's round. It's not all the bite is definitely coming from like the allspice and a little bit of the oak, but like that sweet corn note is just, it's tender, it's comforting. It's not up in your face the entire time. It's just sort of a nice, sweet, consistent flavor, really just floating through there. I don't know how else to say that. All right, moving on. It says that taste, more vanilla, allspice, and then they go white, lighter fleshed fruits, apricot and pear. Haven't had an apricot in a while, so I don't imagine I'm gonna know exactly what that one tastes like. Pear, however, I think I'll be good on. Definitely get the vanilla. I do feel that sort of, I know it's not really a sharpness. Pear's not an overly aggressive fruit in my mind, but I could taste it's more on more like the back half of it. You get hit a little bit by the alcohol. Again, like I said, it's only a 93 proof, which nothing too stout there, but it still packs a little bit of heat. I'm gonna take a quick side note out of this and just talk about the bottle. The bottle is gorgeous. It's got sort of the same dimensions you'd expect, maybe like a guitar or something. Narrow neck, fatter body, and the decal or the label is gorgeous. They've got a whole bunch of music notes written in the nice shiny blue font in the back of everything, and then the beautiful contrast of the white and the black and the blue that they've mixed up here. And of course there's a silhouette of sorts of a guitar behind everything. I don't know, just a fantastic. And then the spirit itself is a nice dark amber color, something you'd expect of a whiskey, especially. It's the first thing that comes to your mind when someone says whiskey, but it's not too dark. It's not as light as you might see some like scotches might be. Synthetic cork, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's got like a synthetic cork, but like a wooden stopper on top. So very, very, very classy looking bottle. From what I remember on their website, they hand label every single one of these. There's no machining involved, which has got to be some skill right there, because I mean, I haven't obviously put a whole bunch of these bottles up next to each other and checked the consistency, but the positioning just seems perfect. So, yeah, high five from afar to my people up in Memphis. The bottling looks fantastic. Just took another swig. I don't know. I think the nose saying sweet corn has definitely more opened up in my palate to sort of searching for those sweeter but yet sort of vegetable-y notes. They're not super prominent there, but like if you swish it around in your mouth, chew on it. I'm not usually somebody who chews on it. I think the only time I really do that is with bourbon. That you can really get, these much more, gentle, flavorful notes that are not as easily found in some of the more aggressive scotches I normally drink. But I really like this. And if I can only drink one bourbon for the rest of my days, this one's definitely getting up there. I just really like that. That's fantastic. And relatively affordable too. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it couldn't have been more than $50, at least where I was. So check it out if you find it. As I finish this, I'm going to start to look towards the premium small batch, which is the next one I'm going to try. I don't want to make your episode too long, so we'll see what's going on there. So I've gone and finished my other pour of that Juke Joint, and I'm going to move on to the premium small batch. And while I'm pouring, I'm just going to, again, read a little bit off their page on it. The minimum age for this bottling is 9 years. And this one's a little different. In many different ways, actually, but this one is made in a Kentucky straight bourbon style, as opposed to, I say Tennessee or Kentucky, I don't know, but it's made in a Tennessee straight bourbon style, whereas the other one was a Kentucky straight bourbon style. Now, they don't give you the exact proportions of the mix, but it is a proprietary blend of two mash bills. One is 84% corn, 8% rye, 8% malted barley. So based off of what I really know from my experience learning about bourbon, that much corn is could be a lot sweeter flavor, a little bit more rounded. It's not going to be quite as aggressive with a lower rye content, but that malted barley adds like a slightly different sweetness to it, a whole different dimension. But then the second mash bill is very, very similar to the Juke Joint at 70% corn, 22 rye, and 8% malted barley. But then this one brings in at 93 proof and unfiltered as well. So they're pretty consistent there, which is awesome. Now, this bottle is a little different from the first one. It's more of a slender and tall bottle, straight lines all the way up. Something more akin to what you'd see in like an Eagle Rare. But they changed up the labeling on this one to where sort of what would be considered the midriff of the bottle is sort of left bare, so you can just look at the spirit. I know the other one's got a little bit more surface area through the body, so you get to enjoy the view a little bit more. But this one, they decided to go with two smaller labels, one with their blue note and the other with their the strict description of the spirit. But again, synthetic cork, wooden topper, just a gorgeous bottle. It just looks fantastic on the shelf. And even better right next to a glass as you're pouring it into it. But This one, they say the nose is more of maple than butterscotch. I'm not going to say I completely agree with this one. I do get definitely more of those sweeter notes, like, just definitely more in the dessert and candy area, but I'm not picking up maple. That's probably because my maple syrup that I usually get is cheap garbage, so it's been a while since I had a butterscotch candy. So it might have been better for me to try this after experiencing those. But yeah, no, I mean, I just get like a nice... It's not as full-bodied as the first one in terms of like the sweetness character. This one's more completely sweetness than the Juke Joint, but it's still not... Yeah, it seems a little bit tamer. Like they want you to settle more into the flavor of it than one thing presenting itself too strongly. They say the taste is maple, caramel, and vanilla. I always like trying to find caramel notes in bourbon. Caramel notes always, I don't know, come up as like a candied apple or cherry to me sometimes, just because the way like the process for those are. And then they say that it just like disappears in a wisp of vanilla after the finish. So yeah, overall, I mean, it just sounds like they're really going for like a very sweet, sippable drink. So I'm gonna try it real quick. Okay, yeah. I get more of the maple and the caramel, definitely when I put it on my tongue. The maple syrup flavor, I mean, for a moment right there at the beginning, I mean, it pretty much tasted like maybe I put like warm. It's not. I mean, my drink's not warm, but like the mouthfeel of it was more like what warm maple syrup tastes like. And then as that coated my tongue and sort of just got like thin is when I really got the caramel notes. Now I think it definitely took a little bit more, not completely away from the maple and caramel, direction, but it went and it. I don't know. I got like a toffee bar. More, it's not quite as dark as molasses, but I can't remember the name of it. There was this candy I always had growing up that it was always like a stick, and you had to work at it for the longest time in order to get it gone. But it was very much that. It was like a cow tail or something like that. But this is just like the finish is fantastic. You just go and it disappears. It sort of sits there. You get there, and even now, it's been almost a minute. I can still kind of feel and taste little parts of it, but it's not aggressive. It's not leaving a bad taste in my mouth. It's just sort of like this sweet, overarching, sort of good flavor that. Like they said, it lingers there. Again, I guess I'm gonna have to go get familiarized with my spices because they're really pushing vanilla, and all I can think of vanilla whenever I think of vanilla is vanilla ice cream, and I don't know. There's such a wide variety of how that goes. Well, that's just fantastic. Well, I'm going to go ahead and finish this glass, but I'm going to go ahead and check out with you guys. Thank you again for tuning in to the first ever Quarter Cask episode. Tell us what you think. Follow us on Instagram at brothers_in_whiskey without the E, and subscribe and follow. We really want to push out some more content for you guys. We're going to try and just explore all different aspects of the whiskey world. We're going to try and keep up to date with stuff. try new things as we're able to find them. We've got tons of friends and connections all across the country and even the world to some extent that we've made through this page. So we'd love to hear from you. If you've got experiences, if you've got stuff that you just absolutely love and want to share, or if you're even trying to do stuff yourself, if you're, I don't know, I mean, there's 1,000,005 things you could do in the whiskey world. Just reach out. We'd love to make that connection. Once again, this is an episode of Cask Effect. This is one of our Quarter Cask episodes. Just a shorter, more digestible episode. And we went over the Blue Note bourbons, Juke Joint and their premium small batch. Go ahead and check out the show notes. Check them out at bluenotebourbon.com. Find out where you can find some near where you live. And I will see you next time.